if you could get all of the benefits of acupuncture, but without the needles? And what if this technique worked so beautifully that it was absolutely a breeze for the most sensitive and reactive animals? All it takes is something like this. This little tool is called a Teishin, and I'm going to tell you all about how this simple ancient tool has been working wonders with animals and people for centuries. And now it's time for you to be able to use it too. And stick with me until the end, because I'm going to be sharing some information that is really exciting. It's big news for us, and you will not want to miss it. Hi, my name is Susan Tenney from Elemental Acupressure, and I am so excited to introduce you to this amazing tool called the Teishin. Our students have been using them now for a couple of years, and the results have been amazing. It's time for you to be able to use this too. In this video, I'm going to be telling you a little bit about its history, what it is, how it works, and why you too are going to absolutely love to have the Teishin in your toolbox of tools for helping animals. So what is this magical little tool? This is the Teishin. Now the Teishin term is actually a Japanese term, and there are other terms from other languages like Chinese, but we are going to stick with the Japanese term because it's the Japanese culture that actually has used this tool the most in recent centuries. This tool is usually a fairly small, often very slender tool, often made of metal, not always, and it's used to activate the acupressure points that we usually would do acupressure on, or points that we would use the acupuncture needles into. It can also be used with the meridian pathways, body tissues, any of the parts of the body that you want to contact the surface of the skin with, and we do it with exceedingly gentle contact. That's maybe the biggest surprise here, because I think a lot of people look at this tool and assume that it would work with pressure, like you would press it into the acupressure point, and that would be the mechanism for what creates the change within the recipient. But actually, this is an energy tool more than a pressure tool, because this tool actually works with just your presence. You make contact, but you don't press into the skin. So it's not like a gua sha tool where you might be scraping it, that kind of flat surface along the surface of your skin. And it is not a massage tool where you're going to be leaning into it and really going deeply into the tissues of the body. Instead, you're just going to be making feather-light contact with the surface of the skin. In fact, although it kind of might blow your mind a little bit, you sometimes will even just use it above the body, and it works just the same. You can kind of think of it in this energy sense, or this life force sense, because it is an energy tool, and it is fantastic for animals who are super sensitive. They don't like massage strokes, kind of like there's too much movement involved. They maybe are resistant to deep pressure because the contact is so light and so gentle. It really is delicate, and yet it is still very effective for moving qi, which is what we talk about when we're talking about acupressure, is moving qi in order to have this effect on the body for better balance. And so practitioners have to actually practice how delicate and light to use these tools, because again, it's our impression that we have to press into the body for acupressure, but not with the Teishin. We just kind of hold it against the skin. So let's take a very brief look at where this tool comes from. It actually comes from East Asia, and it was used extensively in China and Japan and other East Asian countries. This is coming from the legacy of using stone tools and other non-insertive needles that were being used before the Common Era. And then as the insertive needles, the acupuncture needles that you're more familiar with today, like if you were to go to an acupuncturist clinic and they use those little tiny needles, as those insertive needles began to be developed, they kind of took over. They kind of became the preferred tool, except for super sensitive people, especially people who were afraid of needles, and also for children. Because again, they're kind of more gentle and easy, and the children wouldn't have so much fear around them. But you can see how they would be also perfect for animals. Now, these tools had been kind of not ignored, but not used as much until it was kind of revived in the 1900s by the Japanese meridian-style acupuncture community, as well as some parts of the shiatsu community. So these are two communities that are really influenced by the Japanese approaches to East Asian medicine, and it's something that we have definitely leaned into a lot here at Elemental Acupressure as well. So there were definitely a lot of people that kind of were bringing it up and were starting to use it more and getting great results. And in fact, what we were seeing is that some of the acupuncturists that were using these tools were so impressed with the results, and especially because they were less invasive than the needles, they started kind of saying, let's use those instead of needles. It really does work that well. One example of how they could also be used that's really inspiring is from one of my teachers, Funamizo Takahiro. And he obviously was in Japan when the Fukushima tsunami came through and created all of the devastation in that zone. And they knew that people needed care, they needed acupuncture, they needed support. And the problem was that the conditions were such that sterile needles, the need for sterile use was going to be really challenging in the disaster zone. And so Funamizo and his crew of students and practitioners took the Teishin down and actually did thousands of sessions with the people that were in that area, because no sterile conditions are needed for this tool. You could just gently make contact with the points along the skin and help people who had been dealing with the tragedy of that disaster. And that was one of the things that sold him and a lot of his community on just how powerful this tool is. Even though it's an ancient tool, it's incredibly useful in the modern world. And I think we can also make that leap, that extrapolation, that it is also perfect for working with animals. Again, no need for a sterile condition. You can just use this tool very gently and kindly to the surface of the animal's body. So even though you might be able to imagine why this tool is easy to apply to animals, the other question is, why should you do it? Well, like I mentioned before, this is a technique that is very well tolerated by sensitive animals. So what we encounter in our practice is that most animals, many animals, really love massage, and acupressure even more, because it's a little bit quieter and you're just kind of just being there with holding your presence with the animal. But there are some animals that really can't even kind of tolerate the touch that comes from your hands. Maybe they are super sensitive, maybe they are lacking some level of trust. There's all sorts of reasons. But what we found is that the Teishin is often that extra step that you can take that will work for these animals who are super sensitive. The other thing that we love about this tool is, unlike a needle, which is just inserted into one acupressure point, and usually the acupuncturist will leave it there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes or longer, this tool can move along the body. And that means you can use it along a meridian. For example, you could maybe see that it has this little spade end or a pointed end. So you could trace a fascia line or a meridian line. You could even gently press it into the tissue. I'm not using real pressure. It's just really contact here. You could use this at acupressure points, you could use it along meridians, you could even use it on scars or tense tissue in the body. The options are pretty endless. And it is the way for you to kind of bridge the work between the acupressure, which is a hands-on technique, right? So you are usually making physical contact with the body, and the more energetic aspects of energetic healing or energy work, or kind of the energy parts of the acupressure. Because by holding this tool here at the surface of the body, again, no pressure, I'm not pressing into the tissue, I'm just making that contact. It really allows that whole energetic exchange to happen very, very naturally. Now, the other thing that animal professionals have really liked about this tool is it kind of boosts the practitioner's confidence because they feel they can get these great results. We see that again and again. And it also seems to give them this air of professionalism because people, your clients, often love to see these cool tools. It looks somehow very official. And although it's fun and it's fresh, it's also still rooted in thousands of years of tradition. And so what we see is that some people they kind of make that leap that it looks like the authenticity of doing the needlework that maybe a veterinarian would do. And for other people, it's more that it's cool, it's different, it's new. And so the practitioners are kind of bringing in a fresh new technique that their clients are really loving. And by the way, if you have ever worked with really sensitive animals, I want you to tell me if you think you would have liked to try a tool like this, just to see if you had a different result than what you could do with your hands-on effects. So now that I have piqued your curiosity about how to use this tool in the context of some animal profession, I hope that you are curious to learn more, because there is so much more that we can talk about with this tool. In the future videos in this playlist, I'm going to be talking about how to use it, the different kinds of metals that we can use and the different effects that they might have. I will give you all sorts of ideas of how to integrate it into your practice, whether you're a body worker or even some other kind of animal professional like a trainer or some other animal profession. There's lots of different ways to integrate the use of this tool, and you're going to be really interested to see how we can do that. But before we do that, I just want to let you know that we are just about to release our line of Elemental Teishin. These are tools that are actually made right here at Elemental Acupressure headquarters by my son. And so we are going to have a full line, one for each of the elements. This is our Earth Teishin right here. It's maybe the one that I grabbed the most, but truly they are all super, super good, really effective, and the animals are just loving them. We've also had some incredible beta testers out there working with them in our student community, and they are getting the same level of results. So if you are interested in finding out more about how you can get one of these Teishin the moment they come out, make sure that you click the link below, because that will take you to all the information about these tools that will be coming out before you know it. And again, remember that there are lots of videos to come in this sequence, so you can see how to use the tool and how to go forward, bringing it into your practice so that the animals in your care can benefit from this as well.